All right, so this is an explanation video to help you with the assignment for the New England colonies. So step one, you're following along with the background slides, the class presentation, or if you watch the instructional video about the Pilgrims and the Puritans. So after learning about each of those two groups, you're going to answer a short reflection question to check that you understand the impact of these two groups. So after you have watched the video or gone through the background slides, make sure that you answer those two reflection questions. Then, for step two of this assignment, you're going to read two primary sources by two Puritan leaders. One is John Winthrop and the other is John Cotton. So if you thought we were done learning about people named John, you were wrong. You're going to read these two sources in order to gain a sense of the motivations of these Pilgrims and Puritans. As you read these two sources, you're going to highlight examples of power in red and beliefs in purple. This is pretty similar to what we did with the Columbus motivation activity. So document A is called A City Upon a Hill. It's by the Puritan minister John Winthrop. He gave this very famous sermon on board his ship, the Arbella, as these Puritans were traveling to New England. And document B is called The Divine Right to Occupy the Land. This is written by Puritan leader and minister John Cotton, who gave this sermon in 1630. In both of these sources, I'd encourage you to not only look for examples of power in red and beliefs in purple, but also to annotate, to underline important sections, to look up any words that you get stuck on. If you're not sure what a word or phrase means, feel free to look it up, because the next part is going to introduce you to a new cognitive skill, and that skill is word choice. So a summary of what word choice is all about. Word choice is analyzing the effect of language on the meaning, tone, or mood of a text and explaining how the word choice of an author relates to the context or the medium of that source. So, for example, two similar phrases that have very different feelings or connotations. The first is, the business grew quickly, and the next is, the business exploded. Those are saying very similar things, but have very different meanings based on the word choice of the author. A third example that would be related is, the business leaped over its competition in the span of a few months. So those are three ways to essentially say the same thing, but the way that the author has chosen to state it really changes the meaning, the feel, the tone of the text. For historians, what we want to look for are keywords. We might look for repetition, for figurative language. We might look for strong word choice, so adjectives that have a lot of strong feeling or emotion associated with them. We want to look for maybe making some annotations next to the words that have a connotation, so a feeling that a word creates or invokes. And then think about or hypothesize why the author might choose these particular words over others. So what you'll do on your activity for level 1 near mastery, you're going to select a word or phrase from either document A or document B that impacts the tone of the text. Then you're going to define or explain what that word or phrase means in the manner that it's used in that text. Level 2, which I'm also going to ask you all to complete, is for you to describe the connotation of that word, which is something you've talked about in ELA, and then to describe how the word or phrase impacts the tone of the text. So in other words, how does that word make the text feel? If you'd like to try level 3 for exceeds mastery, that will be how you describe the context of how the word or phrase relates to the text itself. So what is going on in the world, what is happening in the context in which this source was created that might relate to the word choice the author has chosen. So that's step 2, annotating these two primary sources, looking at the word choice of these two Puritan ministers to get a sense of what motivated them. Then step 3 of this assignment is going to introduce you to another new cognitive skill. So the task here is John Winthrop and John Cotton both claim to be motivated by beliefs, not power. Based on your reading of their own words, what was the motivation of the Puritans? In the space below, critique their reasoning and evidence in order to explain what you think truly motivated these Puritan leaders. So, critiquing the reasoning of others, that skill is about evaluating someone's arguments, their explanations, and their solutions. It also includes identifying logical fallacies and missteps, so ways in which their argumentation falls short or doesn't really make sense. So when we critique someone's reasoning, we want to think about whether or not their arguments are logical, relevant, or sufficient. So when we're thinking about the logic of their argument, we want to ask ourselves, does it make sense? Is it a valid argument? Or is it totally ridiculous? Second, is it relevant? So does the evidence or their justification relate to the argument at hand? So do they have relevant evidence to support their argument? And then finally, is it sufficient? Is there enough evidence to justify the claim that the author is making, or do they need more evidence to justify what they're claiming? So in your activity, I've provided for you a claim statement. Winthrop and Cotton claimed that they were motivated by blank alone. So just look at the task and you can fill in the correct blank there. And then for level 1 near mastery, what evidence from the text supports Winthrop's and Cotton's claim? Include at least 3 pieces of textual evidence from the sources. So look for text evidence from document A and document B that would support Winthrop and Cotton's claim. For level 2 meets mastery, I'd like you to explain, based on the evidence, is Winthrop's and Cotton's claim logical? Why or why not? So do they actually, in fact, seem to be motivated by the thing that they claim to be motivated by? Level 3, if you'd like to try it, exceeds mastery, is do Winthrop and Cotton provide enough evidence to convince you that they are motivated by beliefs, or are you not convinced yet? And then you would explain. So level 1 and 2 are required for this particular skill. Try level 3 if you would like. When you're done, you may submit this to Canvas, and please ask if you have any questions. Thanks.